My name is Mike Grabham. As most people in the startup community know me, because I run Startup Grind and have for 8 years. I've been doing 8 years, so a long time. I do a monthly event. Obviously, it's been changed since COVID hit us, but I've done 150 events of interviewing some smart person, what I call smart person, founder, angel investor, VC, some type of person that can give us some value in what they know. So I've done that for 8 years, and the last 20 years, 25 years, I've started several companies. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've really not really had any kind of real jobs, what I would call real jobs. But so I've been lucky enough to start several companies. And one of the ones I did, which was the package guard, I started about 4 years ago with the idea, and then of course I've never done a hardware startup until then. So learned a lot. And had some obviously huge missteps, and so I'm a full-time entrepreneur. What I do for a living, how I pay my bills, is I help usually first and second time founders start launch ideas. So whether that's a hardware or software, it doesn't really matter. Most of my work is actually on the software side, oddly enough, because most people do software products. So that's what I do for a living, is I help people start and launch ideas, and most of my time is really spent on the validation of the idea and trying to find some type of product market fit. So that's really what I do for a living. So I'm happy to answer any questions around anything around starting companies, because I'm super comfortable in the early stages, because that's all I've really ever done. I really like the early stages where there just really isn't any answer. It's not like a yellow brick road, just do this and do that and this thing happens. It's more like, well, I don't know what to do, but I know if we go this direction, I think we'll figure it out. So that's what I spend most of my time helping people through, just because I've done it so much in my career. So yeah, and I'm a long time Seattle. I've been in Seattle for 20 years, going on 21. I recently I'm spending more time out in Walla Walla, where I'm actually right now. I'm in Walla Walla. Because 2 reasons: I love wine, and my wife is studying to be a sommelier. So we're spending more time out here, and COVID is not something that's friendly. So we are in a small town of Walla Walla, which is great. Small town. It's much different than Seattle during this pandemic kind of stuff. So yeah, so that's kind of my story, and I've done some crazy stuff. I can say that for sure.
So how did you end up becoming a hardware entrepreneur?
Because I had an idea, right? All of us, you have an idea. Oh crap, I got a great idea. So I had an idea. One time I got a package stolen off my front doorstep, and I was like, man, there's got to be something to protect a package sitting on your doorstep. Got to be something out there. So I started doing research and couldn't find what I had in my head, which I thought could work, which in my head was, if you could just build a mat, and you could just throw the package on top of the mat would tell you that there's a package there. And if someone removed the package from the mat, an alarm would go off. I was just thinking, it's got to be something like that. Well, there wasn't. So, fast forward, 12 months, I had filed a provisional patent and done hacked together some pieces and parts, and thought, yeah, I could actually kind of make this thing. So that's really how it all started. It's just because I had a package stolen, and I thought this product should exist, and here we are, right?
So how did you get the prototype built?
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you probably can tell, I'm totally a business marketing guy. I'm not a technology person, being able to build technology. I'm pretty good communicating and architecture stuff, especially within the web world. But when it comes to hardware, I didn't know zero. So, network through my friends, like I always do, to try to find somebody that can do stuff. I found a guy, Jake, and he basically is a tinkerer. He's not a taught, at least academic EE, but he's a tinkerer, and he helped build this little hack together prototype And that's how we got started. It was literally, it kind of worked enough that I could demonstrate it to people that cared. And that's really how it started. It took them about 3 months to kind of hack it together. And it was just kind of about the size of a Frisbee. It was just a piece of plastic on top of another piece of plastic. And when you pressed on it, it was, like I said, it was pretty rudimentary, but we could start to see how it could work, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and so, how many did you make? Multiple prototypes, or did you just make the one?
Well, we just made the one prototype. I mean, what you hardware people consider a prototype, we only made one, right? So it was it really wasn't usable. Like I said, I had one. That's what I did my Kickstarter with. I only had the one, and here's a funny story. So during the Kickstarter, it was, we got a lot of media attention real quick, and CNN calls and say, hey, can you ship one down to us in San Francisco? We'd love to do a story on it. I'm like, sorry, I only have one, man. And it ain't gonna work for you anyway. so those are the kind of things that happened because I just made one prototype, and I didn't know any better, right? But part of it is I didn't know any better, and I just thought, well, if I just get one, I could take some pictures of it and make it look like it works. And that's what I did for the Kickstarter. So
what was the Kickstarter experience like? What did you have to do with that?
Yeah, that was really great. I mean, I'm glad I did that because I learned a lot doing it. Talked to a lot of people about doing it before. But yeah, I mean, it was all about finding the media attention early on. My goal was to raise $45,000, which we raised basically a little over $45,000, because I was just trying to prove that people cared about it. I knew that wasn't enough money to really do anything, but I didn't really care. I just wanted somebody to say, hey, I would buy this product if it existed. So I had 400 and some people, throw money at it and say, yeah, I want these when it's ready. And so that was the validation. That made me, okay, then I got to make this thing, right? So because everything to that point was I was trying to spend the least amount of money because I didn't want to spend any real money until someone said, this is something I want to buy. And so I needed to get through Kickstarter with, just kind of spending. And I think I spent less than $7,000 to get all through that. I mean, I spent, including the provisional patent, including all that stuff. I just was like, I wasn't going to spend any money until I knew that the market said I will buy that product.
Yeah.
So
how did you go about manufacturing? Obviously, you didn't do this in your garage. Like, how did you go about finding the manufacturer? Where were they?
Yeah. So that's where all the good stuff is. That's where the good stories are, right? Yeah. So I went through two cycles. The first cycle was I wanted to find a company that could do both design and manufacturing. So again, networking through my people here in Seattle, I met a couple of people, and they're like, "Oh, we should talk to this person." So, at the end of the day, I found a company in Mexico that was both a design firm and a manufacturing firm, and they weren't huge. They were big, but not too big. And I met the owner, and we talked, and it seemed like they could do it. And it wasn't crazy expensive. It was a little over $100,000 to do the design and give us basically 50 devices to kind of start the idea of having people test it, right? So, but within about 2 months, I realized they didn't know what the hell they were doing. No clue they could not build the product. I mean, they said they could. They've done a lot of cool stuff, but they definitely could not build a product. So I had to fire those guys, and I gave them about $60,000 of the 120. So out of that, I got, some devices, which was quite funny because they were supposed to have it ready for CES. So I flew to CES. I had a bunch of meetings set up, and the owners were going to meet me there, which they did, but they brought me 6 devices that none of them worked. So they looked good, but they didn't work. So I, basically talked my way through CES without using without demonstrating the device, right? Knowing at that point in time, these guys weren't going to be the group to make it they weren't going to be able to make it to the finish line. So so out of CES, I did make some contacts because I'm like, okay, I got to find somebody that can build this thing because these guys can't. So that's when I went to round 2 and, ended up raising, a significant amount of more money, because then I was like, okay, there is definitely a desire for a product. I've got to find the right partners to build it, and let's do that. So I went out and raised about $750,000, $720,000 to be exact, through just talking to people. Hardware is hard, as you guys know, in this city. There's not a lot of hardware fans, and for someone like me who actually knows a lot of people already, it was still really hard to get the money in the door. So once I had that, then I found another. Basically, I cobbled together an engineer, a designer. I put all these pieces together through individuals of friends, and so we kind of had this second team. And so we designed the product, basically redesigned it, although we learned a few things from the Mexico group. And we sent it to China, which I got introduced from a group here in Seattle. I went over to Shenzhen, and of course, did the thing that many of you have done. Met with people, met with manufacturers, picked a manufacturer. They were actually quite good to work with. They were lovely. They were great people. They did everything on time and on spec and everything. There was a flaw in the design, which of course we didn't catch till after they'd already made 1,200 devices. So end of the day, we launched it and had to stop selling devices and pulled it off market, and it was just a cluster, right? So and it literally took us 5 months to figure out what the error was, but it turned out to be a error in the electrical engineer design early on, where there's a toggle switch basically saying on or off, and he had it set in the middle, so it didn't know what to do. So we had literally, I had 400 devices out in the marketplace, and we could not figure. They'd work one day, they wouldn't work the next. They'd work for one person, wouldn't work for another person. We just could not figure out why it wasn't consistent. People they loved it, and they loved it for like 3 days, and it didn't work. It was just a shit show, right? So, so that's basically what happened, and we pulled it off the market because we started selling Christmas time, because that's obviously the peak time, and we sold a lot real quickly. It was unbeknownst to us, it was shown on NBC Nightly News. We didn't know it was going to be shown on NBC Nightly News. So I'm at home on an afternoon, and the orders just like click, 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 click. I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? And so then I'm like, we have like a lot of orders right now. And so somebody said, hey, I just saw you on NBC Nightly News. I'm like, oh my God. So we got all these orders, which was a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, they fucking didn't work. So that's my story, right? And then, like I said, the version 2, we once we got it out, we realized what it was, and we literally, the investors said, we don't want to put any more money in it because we'd spent all the money by then. We don't want to put any more money in. We'd rather take a write-off. So I killed the company, and oddly enough, the weirdest thing, within 2 months, a friend who I'd known for years emailed me and said, hey, Mike, what's up with the package guard? I'm like, his name's Benjamin. I go, Benjamin, you know what? We're just going to, I just closed it. I mean, I couldn't raise any more money. I knew it was going to cost. It's going to cost a couple of $1,000 to get the kind of whole thing put back together. And the investors didn't want to do it. They'd rather have a write-off. I'm like, so I closed it. He goes, what about restarting it? So we're actually, as we speak, we're going to probably, we're going to restart it. Not sure exactly how it's going to look, but we are committed to restarting it. So oddly enough, when Hans and I were talking, we were talking about this, and I'm like, it's just so weird how this world works, right? It's just, I was in my head completely. I'd sent all those. Basically, I had about 1,000 devices in my basement. I sent them all to recycle. I have one package car sitting here. So we're going to start over. So we'll see how it looks, right? But we've learned a lot. Let's just say that. So that's a long-winded answer and great. There's lots of stories there, guys. I mean, I can tell you just crazy things. And so it's all about the right people, man. It is all about the right people, because there's people that I worked with that are just stellar, and there's people that I worked with who are just like, you aren't able to do this. It's just, you're not able to do this. You're just not skilled enough to do it. And this is not a complex product, as you probably can understand. Let me describe the product. All it is, here, I'll get it to you. So here it is, right?
Yeah.
This is it. So all it is real simple. It's binary, so it just needs to know when something's on it or not on it, right? So if something lands on it, then it notifies you, hey, you have an app, of course, right? It says, hey, you got a package, right? So it's just an on-off, right? It's just very binary. It doesn't care how much it weighs, doesn't care that stuff, right? So it's really simple. I mean, it's basically a bathroom scale with Wi-Fi. So here's the mistake we made early on. We chose to do a sensor technology to sense the package being on it instead of just using a strain gauge, is what we should have done, because that's proven, tested, all that stuff. So we made that decision wrongly, and that was actually a pretty major thing. Looking back, hindsight's 2020. That was probably the decision that cost us the most, just by choosing the wrong way. The wrong way to just judge if there's a package on it or not. So, and that was a group decision. That wasn't just me. It wasn't just the engineers. It was all of us kind of talking through it and saying we thought that was a better way to go. But I mean, because in the early days, I just tore apart a bathroom scale, right? That's how I figured out some of this stuff. I just tore apart a bathroom scale, like, oh, okay, this is how it works, right? So if I just would have went with that from the very beginning all the way through, we would have been much better off by just keeping that same process that's proven by millions. And everybody and their dog can make a bathroom scale, right?
Yeah.
So
you got excited about the technology, replace the old technology.
Yeah, I totally. We were all a little enamored with because it's not a technologically advanced product. It's pretty simple.
So it looks like there's a question here. Craig, do you want to unmute? Ask the question?
So what happens, like at my household, when you have Amazon Prime comes multiple times a day?
Sure. It alerts you when there's another package. It just keeps. You can stack 7 of them. You're going to get 7 alerts. But if any one of those packages are removed, it's going to go off. The alarm's going to go off.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
the alarm, obviously, you can disarm the alarm with the app. It's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. The Bluetooth actually communicates the off and on of the alarm systems. So it's almost instantaneous because you're standing there in front of the device. So that's how it works.
Gil?
Yeah.
It looks like Gil has a question.
Yeah, I didn't catch when you designed this. Was this more than 10 years ago? Because this seems like a Raspberry Pi Arduino, build it for $50 kind of thing now.
Yeah, no, we built this. We had it designed. Well, we would have been designing 3 years ago. What we have here would have been designed 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much custom electronics were in there versus off the shelf? Do you design your own circuit boards or single board computers? What did you?
Yeah, no, it's just it's a super small little PCB. There's not much. Again, there's not much happening in here. So we just have the ESB. I forgot the number of it. ESB something as the chip, right? Which allows us to do both. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. We have piezo speakers, which is the noise. Yeah, the board's super small. I mean, there's tons of space in this device, right? Tons of space.
Yeah, but how much custom work? Was that all custom design? I mean, now you can buy that stuff off the shelf, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was all designed because obviously it has to fit in a certain configuration. So it was the EE did all that work, right? He did all of it, right? So yeah, it was custom, the whole thing.
So this was the company in China?
Well, no, we did the design work in the U.S.
Oh, okay.
We just basically sent the files to China and they built it. Yeah, all the design work was done here in the U.S. There's Alan who did most of the EE work. He's actually from Kentucky, and then a friend of mine from Houston did the industrial design, and then a couple of friends from locally did like app and the AWS IoT work, and so yeah.
Right. So are you going to use off-the-shelf components for 2.0?
Well, we're probably going to use, I think we're still going to use that chipset, the ESP, whatever. The engineer that we're talking to right now hasn't really found anything better, right? It's like, it's super easy to work with. It's proven, the firmware is easy to build on. I mean, all those things are, so I don't think we're going to change. It sounds like we're just going to keep that same ESP chipset. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Any other questions? I have another one here.
I'll jump in real quick. So 2 things. So one is, are you thinking about potential integrations with like a Wise camera, right? So if you put it on there, you can, then record or, tie it to motion somewhere else, right? To double your impact. And then second, if you do have success, like, where's your patent protection as far as, down the line, Amazon or whoever knocking you off, right?
Yeah. So the original patent has a camera in it, meaning not in the device, but on the porch, right? So that actually was the original thought. Going back to the original day was release the package guard, get a platform that everyone puts on, and then bring out a camera. Because I wouldn't build a camera, I would just white label a camera, right? Because everybody has the camera. So we've talked about doing that integration, and I've actually talked to some people when we had a kind of working device about doing that. So it's kind of a normal evolution that whether it's Wise or whoever is going to have that, right? So you can some people want it, right? Some people, I would want it. I would want a camera. Some people don't care. I mean, we've done a lot of customer development, a lot of customer interviews with this thing. So we know a lot what the customer would use. Like here's something really interesting that we thought was super interesting. Again, we did this learning about the customer. So once we did the Kickstarter, we literally got on the phone and talked to about 100 people that gave us money, right? We just sat through interview after interview after interview. And what we learned was the most important thing, the reason they bought the package guard, or at least gave us money to build the package guard, was they wanted the alerts to be real time. That was what they put more value on than the alarm, which is completely backwards for what we believed. We believed the alarm was primary and the alerts were just like a who cares, but it was absolutely completely opposite. Customers like, the alerts are what we want. We don't get reliable alerts. The alerts come like a couple hours after the package arrives, sometimes a day, sometimes, sometimes it doesn't come. So all these things are coming up. So that's what we learned from the customers. The thing that they really wanted was the alerts. We'll actually probably build into this next version, allowing people to turn off the alarm because some people don't want the alarm. So something we wouldn't have ever guessed without talking to customers, right?
So the alarm is on the device itself. It goes off as soon as somebody picks up the package.
Yeah, there's actually four speakers in here, so it's quite loud. It's around 100 decibels. It can't be more than 110 because it's in some neighborhoods it's against the law. So, but it's all of 100 decibels loud. Here's a good funny story. So when we were designing it, right? So like the original, I said that the alarm should go off for 2 minutes. That's what I said, right? Like, yeah, our alarm go off for 2 minutes. Man, that thing sounds after about 15 seconds, you're like, holy shit, that thing is loud. Stop, turn that thing off. So we learned that you don't need 2 minutes. You need about 30 seconds for it to go off, a duration of 30 seconds. So we actually bumped it to 45, and it just automatically goes off after 45 seconds unless you turn it off before that, right? 45 seconds to hear that thing go off is a really long time. It's a really long time, and we were just laughing because I was thinking it was going to be 2 minutes. Like you wouldn't even, you just wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
it's just so long.
So we have a question here, Rashid. You wanna unmute, ask the question, give some background? I think you'd asked that a while ago. He's still here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward question. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of challenges that you're facing developing this piece of hardware. Doesn't it make sense to just kind of potentially license it out if you had so much interest from other parties? You own the patent. I mean, I feel like I'm on Shark Tank right now, but
yeah, I think it's more fun to do it myself, honestly. You know, we've had so many bumps with this product that I would like to see it happen, like just see it happen somehow. So I've always said I just want to sell 5,000-10,000 units, and if that happens, then I would sell the company as quick as somebody asks me, right? Because I don't want to be a manufacturer. I just want to create the product, right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, I had many discussions with all kinds of sometimes weird people about wanting to license and or buy it before it was actually a real thing. But until you sell 5, 10, 15, 20,000 units, no one really cares, right? It's not.
Yeah, I was going to say that I went down the path to trying to license an idea and even a solution, and until you make some sales, people are buying and licensing a market and customers, really.
Yeah. So I already know that if we did sell 20,000 units, I know some people that I could already talk to because they said, hey, if you're selling 20,000 units, give me a call. If you're not, don't waste your time because it's not important to me. And there were some pretty big players that I was able to talk to about that, just back that conversations, like, how could I work with you? And they were all like, show me sales and I'll be happy to work with you. So it all boils down to selling widgets, man.
So I have a question about investors. Rashid mentioned Shark Tank. How did you find the people that invested in a hardware startup here? And then like now you're doing 2.0. Are you going to bring in new investors? Are you going to find those? Like what?
Yeah. So here's the investors is hard no matter. And I've raised money for several companies over my my journey of being an entrepreneur. So I've raised money 4 different companies. So this would have been the fourth one. It's all. I mean, it's just it's like anything else, man. It's just you got to shake a lot of hands and kiss a lot of frogs, and you just got to do that, right? There is no silver bullet. I mean, Hans, I know a lot of people. Like I am lucky to meet a lot of people in the space, and I already know people, and I can get phone calls with people and meetings with people, but it's still hard, man. It's still, I don't know how many people I talked to, but it was a lot. And I wasn't raising a lot of money, man. You think about that, $750,000 is not a lot of money. It's like, when you're asking $50,000 checks, that doesn't take too many people to say yes to that, right? Mm-hmm. You only need, 15 people and you're done. But and I ended up with 9 people, right? So, yeah, it's just, there is no silver bullet. I mean, it helps to get a couple people that know other people, right? Like it helps to get that lead person on that's willing to kind of knock on a few doors in your behalf. And that's, I was lucky to get Kirby Winfield to do that for me. And, Kirby and the people Kirby knew was probably, almost probably just slightly more than half of that money. Yeah. So, that was super helpful.
Yeah. So what, I mean, in the past, all of them have been software startups, right? Or not really hardware.
Yeah, not hardware.
What was like unique about this experience? I mean,
Well,
what were investors looking for? Was it just, here you go, Mike, you're a good guy, or was there anything different about hardware?
yeah, well, what's interesting with hardware, of course, I didn't know that. I didn't know it when I was raising money, but the interesting about hardware is there's a perceived risk, and rightly so, because here's a perfect example of risk, right? So there's perceived risk in hardware because you put a product, you build a product, you have to spend a fair amount of money to build a product so you can sell the product. And sometimes it doesn't sell, right? Or doesn't sell the numbers you want it to sell. So that's a risk, and everyone knows that risk. So, and in Seattle, where predominantly there's tons of software investors, I had personal friends that I know very well that said, Mike, I won't invest in hardware, period, end. I don't care if it's you, I don't care if it's my brother. I'm not giving you money for a hardware startup. Like, it's just, they're just adamant about it, right? So I learned that from a couple of people really early on. So I could filter out the people that just had that kind of mentality, like, I don't care, it's just a hardware, I don't want to look at it. So I learned that the filtering part was pretty important, because I didn't want to waste my time or their time. So that was a tough part in Seattle. It's just finding people that were, and then I found a couple of people that would never invest in a hardware startup, which just liked the idea. They just thought the idea was unique, and they thought it was a good idea, and they thought the market needed it. So there's a couple of those stragglers that just that literally just liked the idea. They didn't know me at all. They just liked the idea. So there, like I said, every company I've ever raised money for, it's never been the same. It's always hard, and it's always different. And the thing that I would say to anyone raising money for a hardware startup in Seattle is find someone that has invested in a hardware startup and get them early on. Get somebody committed that has invested this, because here's what happens is other investors look at your list, like, who's on your cap table. Oh, that guy's on your cap table. I know he knows hardware. That will seal some deals, even for people who are maybe a little or a lot nervous about investing in a hardware startup, right? So that is what I would make sure if I was doing any kind of investing or any kind of raising money for a hardware startup. I would absolutely find someone that has experience with it, that's willing to be a champion for me. Right.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
You need a guiding coalition, as it were.
Yeah, you do. And you want smart people that are investors too. You want them. Yeah. You want smart people that are going to know what's wrong and what's right. Because part of the mistake I made was I had too many people that were software people and only a couple people that were hardware people, but not the right kind of hardware people. That was my mistake in the raising the money. Is there wasn't like a real IoT consumer kind of product I have. Like, if I'd had more, at least a person or two, I probably would have missed a couple, or I probably wouldn't have made a couple mistakes that I did make, right?
Yeah.
So
in terms of lessons and out of the experience, now you're going through this again. On the manufacturing side, what are you doing differently? Like, are you gonna still go back to the manufacturing version 1.0? Or?
Well, I'm probably not, just because it's gonna. I don't know if its numbers are gonna work now with Shenzhen and tariffs, and I don't know if that's gonna make sense. What I'll probably do is just make 100 devices here locally, and really seed the market with those, and not try to have 1,000 sitting in my garage, which is what I did last time, right? So, because I knew I could sell them. I was never concerned about selling them. Any of it today, I'm not worried about. I know I can sell it. Here's what I don't know. I know I can sell 1,000, 5,000 units. I already know that. But I don't know is, can I sell 20,000 units? That's what I don't know. I can sell 5, but can I sell 25? Because if I can sell 25, that's a real business. 5 is like, So that's like I said, I know I can sell some because I have a website up. It's been up forever. I've never shut the website down. I get, literally thousands of hits every day. I get emails like once a week. I'll get some random email from somebody. I mean, it's still a problem. There's still not a perfect solution, and this isn't a perfect solution by any stretch, but it's a cheap solution, right?
Yeah.
So there's still not a perfect solution, right?
Yeah. So when does 2.0 come out?
Oh, it'll be next year, man.
Next year.
I'm not even trying to rush this because again, that was one of the mistakes. We were trying to make Christmas season last time, and that was a mistake. We shouldn't even have tried. We should have just, if we would have taken our time, we would have caught this air. We would have caught it earlier. It wouldn't have cost us. It wouldn't have cost us near the much money, and we would literally have a product on the street right now if we would have caught that, obviously. But we were rushing it. We wanted to get out by Christmas, So yeah. So our goal is to have, and again, nothing's finalized yet, but our goal would be to have a product basically by May of next year. Have a product that's not thousands of them, but like 50 prototypes that I could pass out to people by May of next year. That would be the goal. And
so it's to focus on quality, not the date.
Not even, like I said, I mean, it's funny if you're looking back again, hindsight's 2020. If I would have known 2.5 years ago that no device would have came out that is similar to or kind of in the what the package guard is, I would have absolutely made different decisions. But I was so sure that there was going to be some competing product come out, blah blah blah. But you know what? It has. I know there's software that today right now that can see a person walking up and identify that person as a delivery person. Is it perfect? No, but it's absolutely a potential solution, right? So I know companies that are even locally working on that stuff in Seattle. So, but it's, and bottom line is I'm not going to give the keys to Amazon to open my door and let them drop a package in. And most people my age don't choose to do that either. So but there's not a perfect solution yet. And we need to keep working on it because it's a problem that's definitely super bad in urban areas. It's not bad in Walla Walla, but it is bad in Baltimore. Seattle. In certain cities it's a really, really big problem. Yeah. Baltimore being one of them. So yeah. I learned a lot about package theft and package delivery and last mile delivery and all that crap. I learned so much about the package business, man. I can tell you all kinds of stuff about that.
So actually there's a question here, but there's two questions. So Jeff, do you want to ask your question? And then we'll move to Karen, who has a last mile question.
Oh, good.
Is Jeff still here?
Let's talk about last mile.
Oh, there we go, Jeff. You're on mute.
Jeff's on mute.
You can see you talking.
I don't think he realizes he's on mute.
Yeah, he does. No, can't hear you. No. Oh, wait. Can I unmute him? No. He won't unmute. All right.
He's in constant mute.
Sorry.
Oh, here we go. Hey.
I did it on mute. It kept popping up and running, so I couldn't get the mic on the mute. So it's like I couldn't unmute. Sorry. First time you can do that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little rough, but we can hear you.
Yeah, the microphone is really bad. We're going to fix that soon. I do have a question, but I do have a comment from Mike. We can have this zero I sent you a LinkedIn request, connect request. You can try that. We can get a conversation going. But I run a division company that does AOIP-based division products based mostly on India, but also do it. And in in your process, with a camera, it's about $80 and we're giving out AIP and all the other information for the like you talked about I've been every other like who's actually putting the package on the porch and picking it up. And that's really cool.
So, Jeff,
We can't
yeah.
I can't hear you. I can't hear your yeah.
So, right. So
My
it sounded,
off now. I sent you a LinkedIn request.
so yeah. So he
Okay.
sent you a LinkedIn request to follow up with you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Send me a LinkedIn request. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so I guess his question was crowd sell the packages, the package guard.
Oh, crowd sell. Oh, you mean like just selling devices? You mean like Kickstarter or? Because what's crowd sell? Oh, there he goes.
Oh.
And
I can see his ceiling really well.
okay.
Indiegogo. Yeah, Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Okay.
Yeah. Same as Kickstarter. They're basically all the same. You know, we did Kickstarter. I don't like I said. I don't think we will do that again. Just because we know that people will buy it if it actually worked.
You already did that. You built the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 All right. So Karen has a question.
Hey, Mike. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much for sharing this experience. I think it's great that you're sharing this. I think I've been talking to a lot of friends of mine in Amazon, and there's a big problem in the last mile solution. In fact, in my building right now, we get packets in a store that's not, I don't pay for anything. I just get I have an app that tells me I have a parcel down there. I go pick it up. I put in a number and pick it up. It looks like yours has a much better, I would say I just go pick it up and I don't have to do anything. And if there's some security around it and you kind of figure out some better way to kind of secure that parcel when it's stuck on that tag guard, then I think you may be onto something. Like, you may be onto the fact that you could solve the last mile problem, because there are companies ready to pay money to companies that solve it. So if you already have the tech, you build the software piece, go after your software friends and say, this is a SaaS product that we end up offering the last mile solution. I'm thinking that might be a better model, because as Amazon goes out and works with third-party vendors all over the place, these guys need a place to keep things. And I'm hearing that that's a big problem too. They don't find people in the house. They don't know where to, if there are situations where they could be secure. Then this may be a service you could consider. I don't know. I'm just throwing some ideas here.
So this is for property managers who are managing buildings.
Yeah, I mean, in my building, if you see, the locker has about 10 slots, and there are 50 parcels lying outside.
Oh.
Yeah. So once the slots are filled, right? You got.
After 3 days, you get your parcel out, and there's no other place to keep it, and nobody bothers to go down there and pick it up. So it might be an interesting one, because you can even inform the person who has left the parcel that there's a parcel lying there, and that could be a whole mechanism on return and or non-unpicked parcel, and there may be other opportunities that as a logistic company with all that data, you might be able to add even more value than what you're thinking about in your hardware.
Yeah.
The hardware is just a means.
Yeah, no, I think there's lots of opportunity once we have a widget sitting on the doorstep, right? There's lots of things with data we can do. There's lots of interesting things we can do if we have a network of these little devices sitting on people's front porches. There's some interesting things that we've had discussions with, even 2 years ago, about what could happen if you had 50, 100,000, 200,000 of these sitting all over in different cities. There's really interesting things that the delivery guys, the UPSs, the FedExes, the Amazons, those people, Walmarts, Targets, the big e-commerce players, they have some issues that it could help solve potentially, right?
Do these devices know about each other, like in a hyper mesh? Like if I put 10 of these devices next to each other, do they discover each other and say, I know these other 10 are around me?
No, you could connect them, but they don't know that. They wouldn't know that one was 4 inches away from the other one. They wouldn't know it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be easier with the Arduino.
Yeah, you can totally do
Bill
it,
was
right?
mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
So next question, Robert. You wanna?
Hi, it's an observation. Video doorbells. It's like a $5 million annual unit right now, and it's a superset of this kind of functionality. I'm just wondering if your patent sort of covers that application. I see obviously messing object detection, abandoned object detection to an existing service.
Yeah. So our patent covers a thing on your porch, a device, a platform on your porch, and the alert systems. That's where our patent is covering and what it stands for. And I actually have talked to the people at Ring back in the day when I had a working device. So there are some interesting things you could do with those guys as well. Again, video is really interesting because you could connect the two, right? And so when a package lands on it, you could alert the camera. It could already either be watching or turn the camera on to watch. There's lots of things you can do there. So video with this device is there's interesting things that could happen there, and just be more security. It just gives you more security, more peace of mind. And from a marketing standpoint, peace of mind actually is what this device is all about. It's peace of mind. It's insurance, right? It's for $60, $70. You have a piece of insurance on your front porch.
A related thing is like a mailbox sensor. I've always wanted to build something like that. It's another binary sensor connected over Wi-Fi that you could retarget very easily.
Yeah.
Wise has something you could use potentially for that for $5 out of the market right now. A little tag sensor placement, detects motion, send you alert. So you can use it for doors, mailboxes, garages, anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. Those guys are really doing interesting stuff over there.
Yes. All right. We're coming up to 5. Any other questions? Cool. Hopefully this was helpful for everyone that.
Anyone wants to connect to me on LinkedIn? I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, so shoot me a Mike Grabham. Just shoot me an invite right now, and I'll respond tonight. So happy to connect with anyone about any part, anything. Like I said, you guys are all way smarter than I am when it comes to building, engineered products, right? So.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you very much. This is awesome. This is very helpful, and I'll reach out to you as well and get Mark Burr's contact.
Yeah. I'll get, like I said, I'll help. He's a good guy. He's a good guy to talk to.
And again, to everyone.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike. That was great.
Yeah. If you have an idea, just build it. Just build it.
Yeah. All right. Exactly. See you guys.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers.
Be safe.